Hello guys, welcome to Django Hub. Today we are going to learn Django with Bootstrap. This is a continuous session from the previous sessions, so if you haven't watched my earlier episodes, I already shared the link in the description of this video. So to better understand this project, I strongly recommend watch my previous sessions and then come back to here. Alright, so before start working with Bootstrap, we should know what is Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a front-end framework. It's open source and free to use, and it is one of the most popular front-end open source toolkit in the world. It's featuring SaaS variables. SaaS means software as a service, and mixins, responsive grid system, extensive pre-built components, and powerful JavaScript plugins. Alright, we can say more than 60 to 90% of websites or web applications in internet use a Bootstrap front-end framework. It's open source and free to use in your projects. So what is front-end? Whenever you open any project, for example, open this website, have you seen the content, how well it's appeared in the front-end? So the front-end of a website is what you see and interact with on your browser, also referred to as client side. It includes everything the user experiences directly, from the text, colors, buttons, images, and navigation menus. Today, most of the top e-commerce CMS means content management system, are using Bootstrap. For instance, if you take a top vendors like BigCommerce, WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, Sitecore, Magento, Shopify, PrestaShop, OpenCart. These all the most famous the most famous e-commerce CMSs are using Bootstrap. So just imagine how famous it is. And also it is very easy. It's a lightweight and it's very easy to use in your projects. Alright. So before we are starting our Django project with Bootstrap, slightly we will discuss about the benefits and drawbacks. So some of the key advantages of Bootstrap is fewer cross-browser bugs, a consistent framework that supports measure of all browsers and CSS compatibility fixes, lightweight and customizable, responsive structures and styles, several JavaScript plugins using the jQuery, good documentation and community support, and also loads of free and professional templates and themes and plugins. And also it has a great grid system. Alright, these are the most benefits. And when it comes to drawbacks, there will be a requirement of lots of styles, overrides or rewriting files that can thus lead to a lot of time spent on designing and coding the website if the design tends to deviate from the customary design used in Bootstrap. So what it means that, for example, tomorrow you are going to build a project with different style sheets. Not only with Bootstrap, you are using a different front end. So when you mix a number of styles together in a project, there should be an issue when you have to customize. For example, when you take some Bootstrap styles and tomorrow you add one more style, some XYZ. So there is some overlapping properties. For example, text, color, button, dimensions, width, height. So there should be some overlapping properties. So due to this overlapping, maybe the required result will not fit what you are expecting. Alright, so that is a drawback. So in such case, you have to figure it out and you have to customize that styles. Great. So let's enter into our PyCharm IDE. Open your PyCharm. It's loading. In my earlier sessions, I already teach how to create a project, how to create an application, how to create models. So if you missed those sessions, I already shared the link. Kindly have a look into that. The link is available on the description of this session. Alright. Okay, the project was opened successfully. Okay, great. So this is our PyCharm project root. And tutorials, this is the project directory which I created in my previous session, and library is the application which I created, and the tutorials is Django root. Guys, I'm explaining again here. Don't confuse on the root, because you have to understand the root what it is. The top one is a PyCharm root where your project files will be stored, and the below the named tutorials, this is the project name. I created this project with Django admin start project and project name I mentioned as a tutorials. If you expand it, you will find one more tutorials, that is a Django root. On the top tutorials is a project root and this is a Django root. And library, this is the application I created by Django admin or pymanage.py.app library. Alright, so after creating the application, I already registered this application in settings.py here. Okay, great. So today our concept is Bootstrap. So Bootstrap, as you know, it consists of styles and JavaScripts. So we have to add those styles and JavaScripts into our project. So before that, we can add the styles of the Bootstraps in two ways. One, you can download those files as a physical files and you can store in our static directories, or you can call their CDN. CDN means Content Delivery Network. I will explain that in a couple of minutes. You can call the CDN path and you can use those paths in our templates. Great, but as of now we haven't created the static directory and also templates. So we have to create a static and template directories, and we should tell Django that we stored our static content in these folders and templates has to render from these folders. So let's create two folders, static and templates. So where we have to create, remember, whenever you create a directory, static or templates, your cursor always should be on the project root. This is the project root. So on the project root, right click your mouse and new directory, say that static, and create one more directory for templates. Alright. Now the templates were created, but we have to tell Django that all my static content is available on the static folder and my templates has to render from templates. So to do that, we have to register our static directories and templates in settings.py. Settings.py is a centralized file where your Django application will manage or managed. So let's scroll down to templates section where you will find dirs. So this is directories. In the directory section, you have to mention os.path.join base dir, and what is the directory name? Templates. 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 This line we have to add. This is registering templates. That I make a comment. So what it is telling, os.path.join, it is an operating system level command, and base dir. What is base dir? You are telling Django that from the base dir, take the folder directory templates. What is base dir? This is your base dir. Your project root folder is a base directory. So inside the base directory, we created a folder templates. That's why we mentioned the name templates. So this is how you have to register your templates directory. And next, we have to register static as well, because the reason why we created static and templates, these two are very important to work with the Bootstrap. Let me explain why. In the Bootstrap, the static content, for instance, the JavaScript or CSS are going to store in the static directory, and the templates on the client side, whatever you are going to show the pages, the web pages, those pages are going to store here. So let's go and register static. Scroll down to the end of the file where you will find static URL. Just click enter and make a new entry, static file dirs. It should be caps lock, static file underscore dirs, and here you have to mention same like how we registered the templates, os.path.join and paste it. And what is the folder name? Static. These naming, the naming of static and templates is up to us. We can name it any name, but you have to make sure you register on the correct name or correct directory name. So I mention here static because the folder I created is static. If you find anything like this, have you seen here there is underline exception? That is because of indent. Press Ctrl Alt L so that Python will manage the indent automatically. Alright, so now we registered static and templates. Great. So just make sure before we are going to Bootstrap, make sure our Django server is working fine. PyManage.py run server. PyCharm has inbuilt development server. That server we can enable it by running this command. PyManage.py run server. Alright, it is running successfully. Click on this. Great. So the reason we are showing this Django successful page because we haven't created any templates. So before we are creating templates, let's go and check about Bootstrap documentation. On Google, just type Bootstrap. Have you seen getbootstrap.com? This is the official website. You can click on here, and that's great. Build fast responsive sites with Bootstrap. And one more beauty of the Bootstrap is that whenever you build a project with Bootstrap toolkit, it can be responsive for mobile devices, tab devices, laptops, and also a large resolution computers. So you can code for once, and the same code can be rendered responsively on different devices with different platforms. So you don't need to worry about the mobile devices or tabs or small screens. That I will explain in after a few minutes. Alright, so before getting started, we have to download the Bootstrap files. So click on download. Compiled CSS and JS. So what is meant by compiled CSS and JS? Actually, CSS, there is a standard, or you can say that minified. Minified means that is machine readable. Though those files were readable, but it's quite messy for us. We are unable to understand. So minified version is only for the machine readable. So I will show you how the minified files will be, and also the standard CSS files which are easily understandable. Those files also I will show you. So click on download. Great. So this is the latest version 4.5. On the top right corner you can check latest version. There are previous version is 3.4 and 2.3, but I always recommend go with the latest version. Alright, now download is completed. Go back to the download directory, show in folder. Have you seen this is distributable package, extract all, extract. Okay, great. If you open, have you seen there is a two folders, CSS. Under CSS we have several files. It depends on your project, type of project I mean, and also under JS also we have several files. Alright, so inside our static, perhaps we have media and style sheets and JS and also documents, different type of directories. So instead of keeping all the style sheets and JavaScripts all together in a one folder, we can divide them into subdirectories. For instance, I want to keep all my CSS style sheets in CSS directory. Same, I want to keep all my JavaScripts in JS directory. And the gallery images, for instance, if you see this website, have you seen there is a logo, images, and a lot of stuff is here. So all the images content I want to use different folder, that is image. And if you have other media files like audio, video or XYZ, you can keep as a media. So the reason to simplify our project managing the static content, I divided into 4 directories. That is CSS, where I will store all the style sheets, image, where I will store all the images and galleries, and JS, this is to store the JavaScripts, and media to store audio, videos, documents, PDFs, words, or any other type of files. Alright, so we already downloaded the Bootstrap and we extracted that. So inside the CSS we have some files. In this we are not going to use all the files, so we have to use Bootstrap min. So let's copy these two, Bootstrap and Bootstrap min. I will show you what is the difference between minified CSS and the standard CSS. Alright, here there is two files, Bootstrap CSS and min. Bootstrap.min.css means this is a minified CSS. So let's open minified.css. Have you seen? Though it is readable, but it is a lot of messy, because this file is designed to save the space and also to speed up the execution. If you open bootstrap.css, have you seen how nice it is? We can understand each tag and what styles they're using easily can be understand. So this is a standard CSS and this is a minified CSS. So in the testing environment you can use standard CSS, or if you have your own customized CSS, then okay, you can use standard CSS. But in production we recommend to use the minified CSS to speed up the execution, also to cut down the space. Alright, so these are the two style sheets. Alright, now the style sheets was imported successfully into CSS directory. Let's copy the JS files. After we extracted, there is JS folder. Here we are going to Bootstrap min. This is the only file we are going to take. There's two files always, Bootstrap and Bootstrap min. These two are the JavaScript files. You can take both if you want to understand the difference between standard JavaScript and minified JavaScript. Expand it. Have you seen bootstrap.js is not minified, it's a standard JavaScript file. So it's a readable. Have you seen? The indent was maintained very beautifully so that you can understand and different functions, everything. But when you go back and open this bootstrap min.js, have you seen? It's all in single line and appended all together. There is no indent and it's very difficult to understand. So the reason they designed this file to speed up the execution and to cut down the space. Alright, so we are not going to use bootstrap.js and bootstrap.css. We are using the minified files. The reason why I'm using minified files in this project, because I'm not going to customize the Bootstrap standard feature or standard styles. Alright, even though in future if you want to customize the Bootstrap styles or JavaScript, you can do that as well. Just open it and find your class. Just press Ctrl F and you can find, for example, I have a color, or I want to find a class for the image, for instance. So it will point out the image class where it is exist, and you can change the style as you required. Alright, now we should know how to use the CSS files and JavaScript files in our templates, because from Bootstrap we already imported the required files into our project. So let's learn how to use the CSS and JavaScript of Bootstrap in our templates. So in the templates, just open, right click and create HTML file. Say that home.html or index.html. So this is a file I created. As you know, template means, I explained it earlier, a template is a client-side GUI, graphical user interface. Whenever you open any website or any page, whatever it's appear on the client side, that is called as a template. Alright, so in the title just simply mention home page. Alright, so if you want to load the CSS files and JavaScript files here, you have to mention the template to load the static. So that we can do by mentioning the tag with load static. So what it means, it is telling that load the static directory. What is the static directory? This is the static. This is the open brace mod and closure brace mod. This is Django syntaxes. So whenever you find any code in a template with open braces like this, that is stating that it is a Django manageable code or server-side manageable code. So we mention here load static, and as you know, inside the header we have to mention our style sheets. So generally in our style sheets, how we can mention? By mentioning link. We are linking the style sheets by link tag, and href you can use the path of the file. As I said earlier, we can render the styles and JavaScripts in two ways: by using the CDN path or by assigning your physical directory file. So let me show you how to use a CDN. In Bootstrap, if you scroll down, have you seen here Bootstrap CDN? CDN means Content Delivery Network. That means that these files, these static files, you are not storing in your project physically. So whenever you open the template, that template, while rendering in the web page, it will download the style from this web page. So you can simply copy this and go back to the template, and you can mention here, you can mention like this. Just copy and paste. Control Alt L. Yes, this is a CDN. CDN, content delivery. That means that we are not importing or we are not saving the physical file of the styles and JavaScripts in your directory. But in our case, we already download those files and saved in a static content directory, that is inside CSS and inside JS. So we are not going to use a CDN. The reason, I strongly don't recommend to use a CDN in production environment or internet applications. Let me tell you why. In a production environment, if you use the CDN, for example, have you seen the HR if it's relating to mapping to Bootstrap 4.5 to CSS Bootstrap, this is the file. Tomorrow, the CDN provider, the Bootstrap provider, has changed the directory, or he updated with a new version, or he moved this file to a different directory, then your complete project, the styles and JavaScripts will not be rendered and it will look like a messy. The complete appearance of the project will be gone and it completely destroyed. And there is a second drawback of using CDN is, for example, if you're using an internet applications where the device has no internet. For example, you deployed in a local network and the local network there is no internet in the client machine, and still you want to access this application. And whenever you render this web page in a website, in a web page in a browser, it will try to bring this file. So though it is an internet and then local network, you don't have internet, the browser will struggle to bring this file. Hence, your complete web page will be destroyed and the styles and JavaScripts will not be rendered. So to overcome such problems, I strongly recommend to use physical files. So that is why I already downloaded and stored in CSS and JS directories. So how we can use these files? How to map the Bootstrap style sheet and JavaScript in our template. So let's finish on style sheet. Link RE is for style sheet in href. Here you have to mention the Django codes, that is open brace, mod, closure brace, and static. We are saying this is a static content. Here you have to mention the file of the path of the file. So what is the path under CSS? You don't need to mention complete absolute path of this file, because that is going to manage by static and this load static. So this will manage the absolute path of the file. So you have to mention only inside the static. Inside the static, what is the path? CSS slash, and this is the file Bootstrap, or you can rename, you can copy the name from here, click on rename and simply Ctrl C and paste it here. This is how you have to link your style sheet. So link your style sheet href, and whenever you are mapping to a static directory static file, you have to mention static, and inside the static, what is the path of this style sheet? You have to mention here CSS slash bootstrap .min.css. All right. And what about the JavaScript? We have to mention script tag and script src equals to same static and quotes. What is the file inside the static? Where is this Java file? Inside the JS, you have bootstrap min.js. Refactor, rename, copy this file and js/grid. So we mentioned the both style sheet and the JavaScript of the Bootstrap. Great. So let's run this template. So how we can do that? We need a view and we need a URL path to open this page. Let's go to library. Here we haven't have an urls.py. Keep in your mind, for every application, whenever you create an application like library, you have to create a file called urls.py. urls.py. Or simply right click, new, mention Python file and just give the name urls. So what it is going to store in the urls.py, you are going to store all the URLs related to library app. All the URLs related to this app will be stored in urls.py. Then what about the tutorials.py? In the Django root, you already have a urls.py. What it will do? This url.py will manage high-level URLs. High-level URLs related to every app URLs you are going to register here. I will explain that in a couple of minutes. In library apps, just let's import the URL package from django.urls import path, and here you have to mention URL pattern is equal to Ctrl+Alt+Enter to maintain the indent, so the underline exception is gone. Alright, here we have to mention the URLs that belongs to the application library. Alright, so before that we have to create a view to render this template. Let's create def, and I want to mention as a home. The view name is a home. I already explained what the view will do, the complete logic of the template. Template means a web page or the GUI or the client side view. The complete logic of the template is going to manage it with a view. So let's say that request, and I'm going to return render request and your template path. I mean your template name. Here we don't need to mention the directory complete absolute path. Just you have to mention home.html. That's it. Then how the Django will know that your template is existed on this directory? Because we already mentioned in the settings.py, we already registered the templates directory here. We already registered base dir and templates. So Django will go and check this name, this template name in this directory. Directory name templates. Alright, so now we created a view. Now we can assign this view to a URL. So this view belongs to library app. So go back to library URLs. Here we can mention path. Say that I want the base URL. I mean, whenever you landed with the root path, I will show you that. So that's why I don't mention anything path here. And then views. So for that we have to import the views here from dot import views. So what is dot mean? The dot is indicating that it is pointing to the same package where the urls.py file exists. So in the library app, the url.file exists here. So it is telling that on the same directory import the views. The views is views.py. So for path, for the base directory, we are going to views.home. Views.home. That is the view which we created here. And we are naming this as a home. Why we have to name here is equal to home, I will explain this in upcoming sessions. For example, if you have n number of pages and you want to call some different page from the home page, for example, you have contact, about, services, products, and you have a different navigation. So whenever you want to call a different template, you don't need to mention complete URL path. You don't need to mention complete URL path, just you have to mention name value. You can call this path or this template or this view by using this name of the URL. Alright, now we created the home. So let's go back and run the server. It's already running, the server is running. But still, whenever you open on the local host or 8000, still it is showing the Django installation page only. Our template is not yet showing as a home page. That's because we haven't registered our library URLs with Django URLs. So let's do that. How we can register our application URLs with Django. So go to tutorials, this is Django root. Inside Django root, open urls.py. Here import the package include and path. I want to use my application library as a base application, so that's why I haven't mentioned anything here. And include, and what is the app name? Here my app name, you can find it as library, or inside the apps.py you can copy this name, library.urls. So it is including this library URLs which we created here, home. Alright, so now we included our library application URLs. So let's go back and refresh the page. Have you seen now our template was rendered successfully? So where is this template? It's here. Great. Here, for example, if you have an application and you don't want to run this application as a base application, what do you mean by base application? Whenever you open the base root, this is a base root, right? It doesn't have any subdirectories or anything. So this is a base root. So whenever you open a base root, if you want to use your application as in a base root, you have to use empty quotes and include. But in case if you want to use your base root by in this path, library /. So in such case, if you refresh, it doesn't work because Django doesn't find the base root application. So let's use this path which you mentioned for the library application, library, and copy it here. Have you seen? It's working. But in my case, I want to use the library app as a base application. That's why I mentioned empty root. Alright, quickly understand how it is going to work. So whenever you enter this base root, first it will go and touch the Django urls.py. Here it will match, is it base root or it has some path. So it is a base root. Then it will tell go and communicate with library URLs. Inside the library URLs for the base root with empty quotes, there is a views.home. So it is going to call views.home. In views home, we are telling that take the request and render home.html template. That is this one. That is how it is going to display here. Alright, now we understand how to make the templates and how to make the URLs. So why I'm saying this all? To check the Bootstrap is working correctly or not, we have to make sure first the templates are rendering correctly. Alright, now the templates are running correctly. Go to Bootstrap. Let's check the Bootstrap styles are working correctly or not. So go to Introduction, and have you seen the starter template? We don't want to use this section, header section, because here they use the CDN. Have you seen this is CDN? But in our case, we use the physical path. We already stored those Bootstrap files in CSS and JS folder, and we already initialized that in our template. So we are not going to take that one, just take the body template. Just take body, that is only h1 tag is there. Copy and just mention here. Save and go back and refresh. Have you seen how we can know that it is the Bootstrap styles are rendered correctly or not? Click on inspect and click on this element inside the header section. Have you seen it's already importing bootstrap min.css and bootstrap min.js? Great, but it's not looks much appealing, right? So we have to make sure it's working perfectly or not. So go back and do something. For instance, I'm going to layout and take any example. This layout I'm going to explain in my next session. So just to make sure it's working or not, let's go to grid and copy this. I will explain this all in next session. Copy this one and go back here and paste it here. Now refresh the template. One of 3 columns. It's working. See, the grid was working correctly. The distance was maintained equally and the grid was working perfectly. So let's test one more thing. For instance, go to any component. Let's take these all. Take copy and div class container and paste it here and refresh the home page. Have you seen? It's mean that our Django is integrated or it is rendering the Bootstrap styles and JavaScripts. Alright, in our next session we are going to cover all the elements of the Bootstrap, all the components like alerts, badge, breakup, everything we are going to cover. So please stay connected and I hope you understand this session. So please subscribe. Thank you.